Okay, my mouse is back here. Cool.
So there was something. Oh, sorry for the random silence in the beginning of the stream, but there was something. There was an issue I'd run into earlier when I was editing episodes. Is that I realized we have been streaming. You know, we've done I was 5 episodes behind with editing or whatever, and I realized I had none of the recordings on my computer. I'm like, where are the recordings? As I stream, I record, and they were not there. And so I had to download all the YouTube videos and then take the MP3. Like, it was like a whole thing. So instead of me having the file already, I basically had to re-download it from YouTube. So that's what took me some extra time getting all that together. But I just went to hit record just now, and there's something wrong with the output something. So at least I know that. So when I go to edit this next one, I'm just gonna take it from YouTube. And now I have to figure out what the fuck is wrong with Streamlabs. But anyway, we're here now, and that's all that matters. How is everyone? Oh, today is Pride. Our Gay Pride Day.
Rabbit, everyone.
Yes, also that rabbit. It's our. It feels weird to call it Gay Pride now. It feels so dated, right? You know, it's Queer Pride, LGBTQ Pride, whatever. But it's Pride Day here in Philly. So that's where Scott is. Pride is, I don't know. It's actually a beautiful day. It is a perfect day for an outdoor event. It is not hot as hell like it normally is for Pride. It's actually quite on the cooler side. But big events like that are a little too people-y for me. So that's why I'm here, Scott's there, and we are dividing and conquering this high holy Pride Day.
And yes, I'm sweating, but I'm just sweating because I have a major hormonal imbalance, not because of the weather outside.
My camera keeps going out of focus, and then the only way to bring it back in focus is to just turn it off and turn it back on again. Yeah. It's a very high technical, high budget podcast, obviously, that we do here. Yeah.
Don't mind me, I'm just responding to cis hetero bullshit already on the first day of Pride. You post a fucking meme about a snail on a skateboard, and the cis hets lose their mind because they don't understand it and they think it's offensive.
Yeah, I was looking at you had a very serious face a couple seconds ago, and I was like, what are we concentrating on?
Let me DM you this, and this is what somebody removed as offensive, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, it was removed as offensive?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to pull it up on my phone, so that way I'm not showing the entire stream. My DMs is... Let's see. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna read it out loud because I don't want awkward silence.
No,
okay, so...
I mean, sure you can. Go for it.
I don't know. Oh, okay. Wait, this was taken down as offensive?
Yes.
Okay.
I can tell you why. So there's this thing that people do when they're advocating on behalf of communities that they think they should be advocating on, and they're not actually doing that. They do some really whack shit.
So they all are just like, I don't understand it, so I'm going to report it.
Basically, I don't know. I don't understand. I'm trying to talk to the mod who removed it and understand what's offensive about it. It's literally a snail on a skateboard. And some person who's not queer saying, is there something I'm not understanding? And it's like, yeah, the joke is that queer people don't like rainbows and unicorns. We actually like random things like bugs, like snails or frogs.
Especially on skateboards.
And and then the person's like, is there something I don't understand?
Rainbows, though.
And here's the real thing the guy doesn't understand. The person who wrote the joke is queer.
It seems that way.
That's the whole joke. That's the whole joke. What is going on with my computer right now?
It's like you wouldn't get it. You're not a queer, so...
Yeah, and then that's the thing. I actually posted it as a litmus test to see how that server was responding. Let's do a restart.
Yeah, I think that's a good... we kind of talked about this before, like in terms of trans spaces in particular, but I think this is why we are where we are now culturally, with everyone kind of being weird about trans people and queer people and stuff, is because again, we had certain spaces on the internet that we had carved out for ourselves, whether they were Discord communities or even before then they were forums, whatever, and we had carved out these spaces for ourselves, and then people that were probably searching trans people porn or whatever stumbled upon these communities in their searches, and realized that we were actually living like really nice, awesome, happy lives, and they were like, oh my god, we need to shit all over that. So yeah, I think that it's kind of
it's like that meme. It's like that meme where it's like no, you can't be in our space, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna make this space over here, and it's like, well, we want to be in your space, and then they shove us out of the space that we created in the first place because you didn't want us.
Case in point, many queer bars, many gay bars go through this, especially a lot of gay bars that are tailored toward gay men, right? That's the clientele, and oh no, we lost Sophia. Oh, Sophia's back.
Sorry,
that's
just clicked the wrong thing.
All good. But yeah, that's the clientele, and then they start, and then straight women feel like, oh well, it's just a bunch of gay guys at this bar, so I feel safe and comfortable, which is fair to a point. Come on, come in, have a drink, dance, that's fine. But don't take over the bar with all of your people. And now it's a straight person bar with like a couple of ride or die hardcore patrons of the bar, and it's just weird and no one likes it, and everyone's just going to drink at home because it's cheaper anyway, and that's how community just fractures. Okay, so
honestly, the too broke to drink at a bar, like, doesn't that apply to like 90% of millennials now?
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty firmly in that category. Honestly, we were always kind of in that category, because I remember like when we did drink, especially in college, when we did drink, someone picked it up.
Go buy a bottle.
Yeah, we were just hanging out in someone's dorm, like on the low key, like shh, like we're not doing this. Yeah, it was definitely more of that, because we were not affording bars. No way. We were also way too nerdy and socially awkward to like go to bars. So we were like, no, let's play D&D and get drunk in the dorm.
And then by the time we could afford bars, they were dying, aka when me and Jay went to Sisters.
Yeah, we finally were of an age, so we're like, we have money, we can let's go to the bar. The lesbian bar, the only lesbian themed bar in Philly, and nope, it was the worst experience of our lives. We were like, oh, let's go to Barcade.
We wind up walking to Woody's.
Yeah, and that was also like bad. We were like, we need to go somewhere that is not the neighborhood right now. Terrible to say on Pride Day, but I will say, there has been some drama with some of our gay clubs and bars, but it seems that a lot of it's been sort of addressed. We kind of do take care of that within our community. And also the organizers of this new Philly Pride, I almost said Pagan Pride, Philly Pride movement, they're a lot better than the previous group. Previous group had a bunch of bullshittery and just too much whatever the fuck they were going through. They had too much problems within themselves internally. And I'm just really happy that this new group has just come over and just been like, hey, we need to have pride. We cannot be a large city and not have pride. So, very happy about it.
Nah, from what I have seen, it's so much better organized. Like the fact that they had a map, like I saw like on Facebook, like Jim and Aaron, they shared they had a whole map layout for the parade route. You can go here for this, here for that. This is like where kids are safe, and like they really have. I honestly, if we weren't ill and not people, we would be there.
Mm-hmm. So what have you been up to, Sophia? I see, the big news is that Sophia finally has a computer, and this is huge for Witches Betwixt, because that means we're going to span off into like 17 different sub-podcasts, and we're going to have a whole podcast network, and we're going to make bazillions of dollars. No, I'm just kidding.
I want to be Oprah! No, I don't.
We're going to be the Oprah of... No, actually, Oprah is kind of a terrible person. She went through some shit in her life, but man, she also did some shit in her life. Anyway, moving on.
I was like, I straight up, I had, while getting my hair cut yesterday, we can see our snazzy new cuts, thanks to Ginny at Supercuts. We love her. And we were talking, like, Bruno Mars was playing song after song after song, and I was like, I gotta give it to him. Like, he has really been on the upswing lately. I don't like him. But his music, it's catchy, it's got a beat, you want to listen to it. And Ginny was asking me, she's like, why don't you like it? And I was like, well, he's a dick. She just laughed, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm honest. I realized there were children, and that's probably why I shouldn't say it. I have terrible sailor's language, and I don't control it around children, and I should. But yeah, Bruno taking fucking Hemingway's, no, Hemsworth's fucking side and the whole Miley shit, and just weird. But yeah, it's weird. But I was like, Gaga did a song with him, and Gaga wouldn't do a song with him if he was a dick, right? That's exactly what I said.
Am I muted right now? No, I'm not. What have I been up to? I don't know. I've been up to a lot of shit. Right now, I am testing the waters with a certain occult metaphysical community that will not be named to see how tolerant they actually are to queer material. And like literally, the skateboard with a snail meme got removed as being offensive for mentioning sexuality, and it's like,
oh, it's an occult.
It just mentions pride. Yes. Okay. So like, what I'm trying to do actively is shift the conversation. Yes, what I'm actively trying to do is shift the conversation in the online occult metaphysical sphere to be somewhat slightly different instead of the kind of trash bag situation it's become. Also, I don't get to see what my camera actually looks like on the view that it provides me on here. I have to watch the stream and wait for the lag to see what positioning I should have. So if this position sucks, bear with me while I try and figure out what's optimal for what everyone's seeing.
No, it's honestly, it's just Scott lays on their bed and podcasts. Come on now, or sometimes sits at the kitchen
this is
table.
Actually a lot better of an angle. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to get people to understand different perspectives and create stimulating discussion, but very often people don't tend to like that. People like to have confirmation bias. They really like to hear what they want to hear. Yeah. And when you're the person who doesn't want to tell them what they want to hear, you tend to be a bit of a pain in the ass to most people, and you're just seen as adversarial instead of like someone who's actually caring enough to engage with it, right? Like, I don't know. I view it as like kind of an act of cowardice that a lot of people have in like just online communities in general, or like communities that claim diversity but don't actually like have diversity, that like they have these attitudes that provide a type of status quo. I mean, this is probably true about a lot of spaces that like really fucking need to be challenged. But the more secularized the space is, the more they tend to get this insular beliefs where their beliefs shouldn't be challenged. And you also get this effect too, where a group gets too big and it just hits critical mass, and then there's no cohesion and it falls the fuck apart and it's shit on. So it's really rare to have an online internet community where people can handle discourse and disagreement without necessarily having it to be anger or just outright deletion, like a lot of stuff like that.
Well, there is one digital internet community that I can think of and that is the Witches Betwixt Discord server.
That was painful.
Good
that was so bad.
I know. It was intentionally bad. But in all honesty, our group is pretty good. Like we're a tiny group. Like don't get me wrong. Like we're not like in the. I think we've just hit like maybe like 10 people who consistently talk. Like I think in the server. And I think we have. I don't know how many we actually have. But our community, I like that we want nuance in our conversations. We don't just want like association lists and stuff like that. We're not here for that kind of discussion. You know, we're here for like the nitty-gritty details of things. And also to like support each other in our experimentations too. I think that's another thing we talk about is we're really into experimentation and like, you know, just sharing ideas with each other. So yeah, we are a good group, but it is very difficult to find good occult groups out there that are like, we're diverse, and then you're like, okay, but are you? And they're like, yeah.
We're diverse. Here's our one token black person and our one token Asian person.
Right, like things like that. Or we're diverse, and yet we have kicked out every other single person who has ever voiced a complaint about diversity. That's why there's a big there's a big thing going on about a heathen event called Northeast Thing. Is something happened within their organization. The Wild Hunt wrote a whole article about it. Basically one of those things, the organization claiming to be diverse and inclusive, and a situation arose which was not handled well at all, and then instead of handling it, they just doubled down and said, well, the person is banned now from our event. So really great way to handle things. Heap. So
meanwhile, we're gonna start Philly John, and it's gonna be like the best heathen gathering on the Northeast circuit.
Yeah, credit to Chloe for reaching out about
seriously
this idea.
credit
to Chloe for the proposal. I'd still like to make it a thing.
What did I do?
No, I have. Funnily enough, I
Chloe.
I know another Chloe.
Okay, right. For those who don't know, Chloe's
who's also
my
a trans
first
girl,
name,
which also
and
cracks me up.
yeah. So for those who don't know, Chloe's my first name, and it fucks me up. And sometimes I will accidentally answer to it in wrong circumstances because everybody at work and in certain circles will call me Chloe, and everybody at other certain circles will call me Sophia, especially like the occult circles. So like if you know me online and through the occult, it's almost always Sophia or Omni. But if you know me through work, it's always Chloe. So when you said thanks to Chloe, my brain went, what did I do?
No, it's so funny because we say it all the time. So this other wonderful Chloe, she is a trans girl who is part of our kindred, and I swear y'all would hit it off instantly. Like the similarities are there, and she is just so funny and just a great time to hang out with. And yeah, she came up with the Philly John because people are always asking what's John. Well, it's literally just means thing. It's just Philly for a thing. It can be a noun, it can be an adjective, it can be a verb, it can be anything you want it to be.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to direct.
Pardon me finishing up this conversation before I give more energy back to the podcast, but I will be back in just like 2 seconds. But please continue.
All good. I was just going to turn my attention over to the chat. So here in the chat, I love that like consistently. I know that once we click this like go live button, that like it will never just say 0. It'll never say 0 viewers, and I love that. So we have like 5 viewers right now. So we have Kai. I think Sophia. I think if you're looking at the chat, you technically count as a viewer. So I guess we have 4 viewers. So we have Kai and Dawn so far in the chat is who I'm seeing. So welcome. Kai
My lovely.
Saying, oh, what is Kai's? Oh, Kai was saying, want to be a homebody. We're gonna have a house party. Exactly. Like we can't afford to go out. We don't do going out parties. You know, like we don't do that. You know, I don't know if we ever did.
most excited for my 35th birthday. I went to a revolving sushi bar place for dinner. That's what I did. That's my idea of an exciting night out.
Food. Pretty much what
revolving sushi.
Yeah. What I should have done if it was possible, I should have had Scott be like,
go ahead.
I should have Scott be like, jump into the Discord now. I want like a live feed from Philly Pride. Like,
whoa,
Scott all decked out in rainbows, like camera shaking everywhere.
Should have gave him my selfie stick.
Right.
Oh my god, like dial up Scott right now and be like, live call from Pride, please. But like, what's going on with this like first day of Pride? Y'all hitting up the parties? Like, what the fuck?
We're very efficient.
Damn, Phil.
Like, oh, it's Pride Month. Let's boom. Apparently,
like
also,
seriously,
they were doing the unraveling of the largest Pride flag in the world. It's this gigantically long rainbow flag.
It literally reaches goes the entire length of the art. You know what I'm talking about? The steps that Rocky runs on.
The Rocky Steps, the art museum.
The Rocky Steps.
The Rocky Steps. Oh, Rat's here. There's a rat in the chat. Hello.
It's
hello.
It's the steps.
Step. That's literally how it feels to climb those steps. You're like, steps.
I'm giving you the fucking bangers over here, okay?
We're gonna get hit with like a copyright claim, like no, I'm from Philly.
Nah, it's full cover. From Philly. Full cover.
My cultural right.
It's full cover enough. I ain't fucking. They ain't getting shit from us. So, can y'all hear my typing on this microphone, or is it like?
No, not at all.
No, it's actually a pretty quiet keyboard that you have there.
Because I've been like muting intermittently, but I'll just like leave it on. Yo, we lost you, Jay.
No, I just keep having to turn the camera back on so it keeps me in focus. It was getting fuzzy.
Meanwhile, me on my Pixel tablet has never had an issue. I fucking love this thing.
Well, if I could stream this whole operation from a Pixel tablet.
Right.
We could be mobile. We could live, we could live in a mobile home and never have to have a, it'd be great.
Okay. So yeah, here's the plan for the second podcast that I got this computer to start up. Also, I am going to help with the technical side of which is Betwixt a bit more so that Jay doesn't have to do it all the time. But the second podcast is basically going to be atypical. I'm going to be hosting it, and if other people are like able to join on certain times, we might. But it's going to be less a have everybody group in and come hang out, and it's less going to be a talk with just queer people, because we tend to talk about queer stuff and queer people here, right? The podcast is more going to focus on the occult and mysticism and paranormal, because there's a lot of people in those spaces that are really kind of craving the information that we share on the podcast, I've noticed. And we have a lot of like interpretations that really would be beneficial to them. So yeah, oh my god, this person's saying that they looked up snails and that they changed genders and they thought that might be a negative aspect. It's like, this is peak, like, trying to advocate for other people. Well, like, I'll give them this. They're all good-intentioned people, right? Like, I'll give them this. They're trying to be allies, but this is a classic thing that Dawn and I have talked about a lot. Shout out, Dawn, if you're in the chat. Oh, she is. If the flag was on a snail on a skateboard. But there's attitudes that happens a lot when people aren't necessarily involved with communities and then they try to advocate on behalf of them. And that's why we say that like representation matters. And even if you can't do representation, exposure is fucking pretty good too, right? Like, if you spend a lot of time with, for example, like the Black community, you're probably going to be saying less anti-Black shit just in general, right? Because you'd have learned some shit by then. Just kind of how it works. Because, I mean, people will just fucking tell you if you're being an idiot. They don't really care to spare you your feelings if you're being a cunt, right? So people just fucking tell you. And if you're existing in those spaces with those people and you're doing it in good faith, and they'll see a change in behavior, they'll be like, okay, cool. They weren't trying to be like a dick or that, and they just were coming too white to the space, you know? And like,
yeah, and also you'll
that's what's up.
still
And
have
like,
friends. Like if if you continuously don't have
yeah.
friends,
And like that's what's up, because like communities know how to self-police and shit, but then we do this thing where often we try to advocate for people that we're not really exposed to too much, and we see something that we think that we should advocate for, but we shouldn't. Also, no, that's not my armpit. My arm is literally just that cut. I'm noticing, like, God, I'm getting buff.
is this gonna be like the stream where
Yeah.
we're all just flex? It's the flex stream.
I mean, I can if you want me to actually show off my muscles a little
We
bit.
need Scott
I
here
am
for the
actually
flex stream.
truly jacked. Yes, Scott, next time you get here, you and I are going to do a gun show for everybody. Yeah, I'm low-key cooked. I'm or not cooked. I'm low-key cut, right? There's two types of cut, as in like being buff. There's soft cut, which is like this. Actually, no, I'm mid-cut because you got the lean with the lines, but I'm not like super hard cut. You know what I mean? Where like the body is just like fucking just like ripped, you know what I mean? I'm like mid cut, and then there's like soft cut where like the person's got a shitload of muscle, but it's not like really ripped, you know what I mean?
I'm flabby.
Three types of being cut. Yeah, but if you were if that was muscle, you'd be soft cut. You'd be soft cut.
Scott is gonna go back to Planet Fitness, I think. Oh, we're reenacting the Armstrong poses.
Oh my
apparently.
God.
Well,
and I sent that snail on a skateboard meme to my friend who's non-binary, and their response was, "This is my identity now." Ami and Jay reenacting the Armstrong poses. You know it, Dawn.
Right. That.
And
oh my God.
You watch too much Full Metal Alchemist.
The after
Speaking of what I've been up to.
The flex stream.
Speaking about what I've been up to, I've been studying alchemy more lately. Like I'm still reading Secret Teaching of All Ages, and like y'all, it really fucks. It's not meant to be a book of everything, even though an author always gets a little too on themselves and will think it's a book of everything, right? But what it is it's an Encyclopedia Britannica for occult studies, which is exceptionally useful, right? Now, when you look at the Encyclopedia Britannica, you don't look up, say, Stonehenge and expect to get the full in-depth explanation of what Stonehenge is.
No, you get.
But you're going to get a good amount of information.
Paragraph or two, like you don't get too
more
much.
than that. You will get sources on what to look up and what to go into, right?
Like
so insofar as that, it's much more expansive than the Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, for example, I'm on the Rosicrucians / alchemy chapter, and that shit has grabbed me in a good way, right? And I'm like super into it, and I want to read more about it. Okay, hang on a second. And I want to read into it more, but it's just a matter of time. So I'm like looking into Rosicrucian shit. I'm looking into like more traditional Gnostic texts. Like, again, I'm actually fucking pretty I'm pretty, what is it? Train of thought. Rosicrucian's alchemy. I'm pretty into like the whole alchemy thing. Sorry. And like the 12 stages of refinement, because like goddamn, when you know what they are, you can actually like see yourself going through them in your life. And like different parts of it is like calcination, like being burnt to dust, or like
I did see an article.
Putrefaction.
It was
and fermentation. Sorry, go ahead.
It was like an article from some science website. Can't remember. I'll have to find it again. So you know how like right off when you say alchemy, the main cultural thing that we associate with it is turning lead into gold, right? Like that's like the classic association with alchemy, right? I read this article that these scientists, I forget where, you have to look it up, very briefly, for a couple of moments, were able to turn lead particles into gold particles.
Yes, and I can tell you how that works to
Very
some degree, but
interesting.
I feel like I shouldn't.
It
So I'm
was
going to
a
say some
scientific
shit actually
concept.
about this a little bit.
Yeah, like it was way above my pay grade, right? But it was
So
fascinating though. Yeah.
keep your eyes on the chat because Dawn is going to start popping off because she is studying chemistry right now. I know Dawn in real life, like she's like chosen family a sister, so like that's why she's so faithful on here and like has really good opinions and shit. Because like I wouldn't be hanging out with somebody who's a dipshit in real life like that. She knows her shit. She's cool. Not to say I don't like people who are silly or whatever, but like Dawn's a real one. But yeah, she's studying chemistry, and she got into it because of alchemy. And we were talking about how, in her opinion, it has to do with like electrons, right? Because even photons are generated by electrons rupturing. So everything seems to do with like a type of harmonic resonance with electrons. Although she would know better. And basically all matter is literally just like protons and neutrons, and like they're very simple types of particles at their base subatomic level, but they're just arranged in different patterns to cause different material, right? So if they have the right resonance or whatever the fuck she was talking about, there is no reason theoretically why one matter could not be substantiated into another state. It is just
Right, you just
common
rearrange the
fucking
particles.
now, here's where this gets interesting. The whole thing about alchemy is that you're supposed to be doing an inner alchemy first. There's like a line in the book, woe to thee who try to pursue the external alchemy without having pursued the internal one first, for it will not work and you will waste your materials, right? Because I don't want to give away the secret to it because I'm not 100 on what the secret is, and it's not my place to give it away. You when you start getting into this kind of shit, there very much is like a no to dare and to keep silent type thing, because like people will kill you for this information. This is like you're veering into like actual real secret societies that have existed throughout the ages, that have like had sway on humanity. And
Like
no,
you may
before
or may
anybody
not.
jumps in the chat and is like, the Illuminati controls everything. No, they don't. The Illuminati is not in control of everything. Nobody is in control of everything. Everything in the world is warring factions of rich people and people behind the scenes trying to control everything that they can. And being sociopaths about it, right? It doesn't, nobody's actually in control. There's just different people vying for control. And you bet your ass the Bavarian Illuminati, in fact, did survive. If you're interested in this, go read the book Perfectibilists. I can even punch it in the chat here.
Speaking
There
of
you go.
books, there is
look it up.
I did take one of your book recommendations, and also like many millions of other people have been saying it too. Braiding Sweetgrass. I'm like halfway through that.
It's the fucking best book in the goddamn world, basically.
It's honestly, I'm so glad to have finally read it, because it's like reading my own worldview read back at me. You know what I mean? Like I was like, man, like I didn't have to try to be this way. I didn't have to reformulate my thinking to be this way. I'm like, I've always just kind of thought this way. I've always just kind of had this, and it's just, just trying to, reforge whatever our current connection looks like to, to the earth, and trying to reclaim that. But yeah, her philosophy, her way of thinking, it's just very like, oh my gosh, like it's a really nice read.
Yeah, Dawn's actually reading it right now as well. And to anybody who's reading the paper version, I also cannot recommend enough. It's free on YouTube. Listening to the audiobook version, because it's read by the author, Robin Wall Kilmer. I think I'm saying her name wrong. And she's so happy and delighted while reading it. Like, just listening to her speak is a joy, right? And then hearing her pronounce all the names and stuff. It's 10 out of 10. I heavily recommend the audiobook as well.
What stood out to me so far in the book was I never knew of the Thanksgiving address. I had never known of that document. I didn't know it existed until I read the book, and then I looked it up online and read it, and I'm like, that is just such a one. It's just a beautiful. It's a beautiful grounding thing, to really bring yourself into the very moment of where you are. Yeah.
Yeah,
was good. I will
braiding
have to link to
sweetgrass
that.
absolutely fucks.
It's also
What's the other one I was
nice.
gonna recommend?
It's also like if you're reading a lot of like really heavy occult stuff, and if you need something that's still esoteric, still spiritual, still on that level, but not as like brain intense, you know, if you need something that's more like it nourishes, I guess, the soul instead of like feeding the brain kind of thing, that's definitely what braiding sweetgrass is.
So there's many different bodies we have within ourselves, right? We often live only in the mental body because that's what the society requires of us that we live in. We have to disconnect ourselves from our emotional body, and we have to disconnect ourselves often from our spiritual body, and sometimes even from our physical body. Although it depends on what you do for work, because if you're someone like me, your physical body must be relied upon for work as a laborer. Therefore, my two bodies they require of me is my physical and my intellectual, but they do not want me to nourish my emotional nor my spiritual body because those are emancipatory. So what braiding sweetgrass does is it nourishes your spirit body and it nourishes your emotional body because there is a pureness, not even pureness, but a wholeness, right? Of remembering how things were, of how things used to be, how things were before capitalism came in and did this, right? And she frames it excellently through the framework of her culture. But it's important to remember for everybody, no matter where you come from, you had a culture prior to colonialism and it was stolen from you via your either your localized colonization, i.e., the tribes or clans of Britain getting united by the original kings and taking over of the lands. That's essentially just displacing the people from the land and doing the exact same thing. Before you can colonize any other people, you must colonize your people first. That's always how it works, right? So anybody who is coming to this conversation does bear those scars of colonialization, even if it's in ancient times. So that is something important to bear in mind. And that's why it's so nourishing, is because it's a truth that we all know, but we've forgotten, right? Everybody knows it. You can feel it in your fucking soul that that's the way that shit's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, like
And
you can
it
tell,
nourishes
like,
mentally too.
yeah, because it's like
Go ahead.
because it's just like because we talk about it all the time here, you know, like life is too fast, it's too impersonal. Like we spend all of our times just like laboring and laboring and laboring, but not laboring in a reciprocity way, like not laboring with the earth. We're laboring against the earth. You know, like all of like many of our labors, you know, are in harmful industries, you know, like and we have we have limited control over what we do for a living. You know, it's just we're all kind of caught in this terrible cycle, and yet there is this underlying, I think even even the richest bastards of all of this, like they still vacation to beautiful places where like there's all this nature around you, whether it's, you know, finely landscaped or not. The point is they go to nature because it's in their human, you know, psyche to be like, I want to go to a nice pretty place and look at pretty plants while I, you know,
So
go do rich
that's
people
actually a
things.
conversation I heard as to why Russia's never going to bomb the West with nukes. Because they vacation here, because they have their mistresses here, because they like getting out of the
Mm.
hellhole that they have fucking made for themselves. They don't like spending all their time there. They like going around and they actually like nature. As much as these people destroy shit, there's only so far they'll go insofar as it starts to impede on their own life. And they're not
I
going to bomb the
mean,
West. They're not going to bomb anyone.
it has to be why
They
they
just want
haven't
you to
done it
think that they
yet.
will.
Yeah, it has to be why they
There's so
haven't
many
done it
more
yet.
reasons why they haven't done it. No, there's actually a lot of missile interception systems that have advanced a long, long way. So, like, I'm actually going to get into another conversation here. But really quick, before I talk about dark science, I want to read some shit from the chat. Don was saying this is back to the conversation about alchemy. On the molecular level, yes, all the elements are made up of the same three things: electrons, protons, and nutritions with different proportions. So by adding more electrons and protons, we can change the element. But in
Mm-hmm.
case that didn't last, because adding nutritions is much harder, we need them little guys to keep it stable. Okay. Maybe she's trying to say neutrons
I
instead of
think so.
nutritions, and
Yeah,
that's yeah. I don't think it's
I was like, I think I
nutritions.
remember it was electrons, protons, and neutrons. That damn
who is Neil
autocorrect.
and
I remember that
talking
much from
about.
science, not
Yeah.
much else.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Example is turning
I know how to
hydrogen
use a
into
torch.
helium. It's very hard IRL because it's a gas, but in theory it's simple. Hydrogen has one of each, while helium has two. Okay. And then Call Me Kai was saying it's like Twilo and Miguel climbing the steps to their temple, trembling up the last few steps, but then Chief and Priest turn to face them. We're good. Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about the Rocky Steps, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Even I call
And
it
then
the comparing
comparing the above
steps. The
scene
art
from
museum
Road to El
steps.
Dorado to the steps of the building place y'all were referring to, the longest pride flag. Yeah, with the Rocky thing. I saw that
The
rollout too, and I
Philadelphia
was like,
Art Museum steps.
Yeah, fuck the art.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, now I'm going to dive into dark science. So dark science is a term that I'm using to refer to science that's not mainstream yet is still being conducted, right? So we like to think about science as though it's like this, everybody shares every bit of information across the world, and there's just this united database, and we have shared understanding and knowledge, and it's like, y'all have a very twisted understanding of how factionalized humanity is, right? So what I call dark science is anything that's not publicly disclosed research, right? So anything going on in Lockheed Martin at the Skunk Works.
Yeah, they like keep their shit under wraps. I was just saying, like, a lot of scientists, especially when they are in the throes of their experiment, that shit is under lock and key. Like, they are not discussing
It's not even just that, though. There's people who will use their proprietary funds to make certain research happen and then hold that research and the results in their possession, right? You can privately fund shit like that, and that's the ultimate problem about this. You can't decouple scientific research, nor can you decouple art from the economic systems which fund them, which is why art's often so tied to like money laundering. It's a whole other fucking conversation we're not getting into, right? But insofar as science goes, there's a lot of dark research, meaning, i.e., it's behind secretive laboratories. Like, say, when the government's doing like germ research or like looking into UAPs, because if you don't think UAP and UFOs are real at this point, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. I don't care what you say. I've seen it enough to know.
Simply incorrect.
And they have disclosed documents about it, and they've announced that it's real. Like, y'all just don't fucking listen, and you're so like caught up in the culture war shit that you don't even realize how much actually has been unveiled, when like those CIA documents are pretty unredacted, talking about like fucking chakras and other dimensions and fucking CIA psychic spy program and like remote viewing, because it worked really well, but we just stopped using it, air quotations. And you're like, fuck off, man. Like, the information's all out there. It's just a matter of whether or not you're brave enough to actually follow it all down and like have the lack of like schizophrenia to actually be able to sort out the pieces instead of getting fucking thrown down the goddamn rabbit hole, right? And then Dawn says, please watch Dr. Fatima's videos on academic and scientific processes. She is awesome. Yeah, Dr. Fatima is amazing.
I've watched her videos
amazing.
before.
Good Lord. Yeah, I've linked stuff from her before. One of them is I almost mixed her up with Anne Rel and said the semantics of revolution. Dr. Fatima is a astrophysicist, I believe, who does a lot of really good anarchist decolonial videos. Like, a really good one she did was about telescopes and colonialization, I believe. She's phenomenal. I cannot recommend her enough. But yeah, you cannot decouple scientific research from the funding that goes on with it. And a lot of people in the world have vested interests. So you bet your ass whatever BlackRock is researching, you're not finding out about. Whatever fucking Lockheed Martin's got, you're not finding out about. Whatever all of these tech corporations like Palantir and all these fucks have, you're not finding out about, right?
You'd have better luck breaking into the Vatican.
We have this. I mean, actually, no, the Vatican is also researching their own shit and keeping it under lock and key, and actually has a private military in ways that other places aren't allowed to because they're considered like a nation state. So breaking into the Vatican is probably one of the hardest things that you can do. But I get your joke. I'm just
If Tom Hanks can
overanalyzing it.
Right. If Tom Hanks can do it, anyone can do it.
Oh. I think personally they've got systems so advanced they can intercept shapeshifters, and that's all I'm gonna fucking say about that. Okay.
Honestly, like the Vatican probably been blending science and
They wouldn't let
technology or magic and technology forever.
forever. They would not let a fucking fly in their vaults or pass their security. I dead ass. They would kill that fly dead for fear of it being a shapeshifter. That type of shit. That's the type of shit that they get on. Okay. Anyways, scanning for foreign life forms, eliminating. There's so much hidden knowledge in the world, right? And when you start delving into it, it starts seeming very much like conspiracy theory shit. But like, what a label to just throw on something so that people just don't look at anything outside of the mainstream propaganda. How you just call it a conspiracy theory, and then everybody throws their head the other direction.
But it's so weird, the things that we label conspiracy theory versus the things that we don't, you know what I mean? Especially with this stupid, like, MAGA cult fucking people, you know, like, it's like we've taken the idea of conspiracy, like, the conspiracy theories almost sound, you know, valid. It's kind of like the idea of, like, the Onion can't operate anymore because, you know, the most ridiculous shit is already happening. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Indiana Jones could break into the Vatican vaults, Kai.
Oh, right.
When plot... There's nothing more powerful than plot armor, I will say that.
Yes. Honestly, just Harrison Ford himself could probably do it.
Yeah. Even at 92 years old or 80, whatever.
But yeah, so dark science means that there's a lot of shit going on that's getting funded that we're not actually able to know about, and that there are entire different modalities of understanding the world through things like telekinesis and telepathy, which, like, we know is fucking real. People bend spoons with their mind. Look up Uri Geller and other people. Like, it's been around and proven for a hot fucking minute, but people just don't want to look at the facts, right? So
with telekinesis,
the big problem again is your mind. I haven't practiced it as much as I should. I've been so busy on other stuff trying to set shit up that I have been lacking on my meditations and working on it through the gateway tapes and focus states. But I will plan on getting to the point where I am trying to bend metal spoons. Yes.
I remember I very recently, like after I had first seen The Matrix, that was kind of my obsession for a long time. Was
you're bending yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
Not wrong.
There is no spoon.
There is no.
Well, that's not true. That's not true, actually. If there's no spoon, then there's no you.
Mm-hmm.
Then who would bend the spoon to begin with?
Right, that's true. I was just thinking of the quote from the movie, but yeah.
Yes. I'm just saying there's a fundamental plot hole in that logic. The real trick is that you and the spoon are made up of the same stuff, and through quantum entanglement, particles affect each other at a distance. And observation seems to be one of the most uniting factors in the universe. And somebody posed the double slit experiment to me in a way that I had not noticed it or realized it before. They said that, because, like, you know how the double slit experiment works? Like, they shoot a photon through the two slits to see how they're behaving, right? And it acts like a wave and a particle. The theory the person said, and they didn't pose it like a theory, they said the light is aware of when you're observing it. And I'm like, oh, shit. That's probably what it is. It's far more simple than your consciousness emitting a field that causes, like, wave states to collapse. It's probably more probable that, like, the underlying material of reality is aware of when you're aware of it and therefore shifts its state accordingly.
Cool. I like that theory.
Yeah, look up Bell's Apprentice. They recently won the Nobel Prize by proving the quantum entanglement, which was considered laughable by the broader community. We've talked about that many times on the podcast. We know. Yeah, it's Bell's theorem. It's what we're talking about with the double slit experiment. So yeah, a light particle is both a particle and a wave, and it behaves how it wants depending on if it knows you're observing it. I don't even know if it knows you're observing it, because then that puts a certain level of
sentience
position on the whatever. Eat my ass. Electrons, not photons. Bitch. Anyways, side note.
Oh, that is a cute baby. Cute baby.
Baby.
What were you gonna say?
Oh,
What were you gonna say?
I forget what I was gonna say because I got distracted by this very cute cat right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It happens.
Yeah.
He's a
little baby.
No, this whole concept of quantum theory, quantum entanglement, quantum, it's been a buzzword. If I've had a lot of, just articles thrown at me, it's been in a lot of, I guess, the groups that I frequent. There's been a lot of discussion about it, and I think it's kind of where we're starting to definitely see this exploration into quantum physics and stuff like that is really where we're starting to see, I think, the intersection between, the occult and science and everything like that.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a bit of a buzzword, but it's actually much more simple when you get down to the core of it, right? Because basically, quantum science has to do with the fact that observation causes effect to occur, and that there's entanglement between particles, and that there seems to be some underlying state that is tied to consciousness or awareness or observation. And it's interesting because it very clearly points to the phenomenon of reality being through non-physical like criteria, where most people have been thinking of it as like a very plant, mineral, organic, arising from certain chemical circumstances prior to this. It feels like that's actually putting the cart before the horse when you look at quantum sciences and entanglement, right?
It's kind of like there's, I don't want to call it an intelligence, but there is a pattern, right? Especially to our world, like everything in nature exists for a reason. If a plant pops up in a place it's not normally at, it's responding to, it's there for a reason, whether it was transported there by a person or, nature said, hey, there's something going on in the soil here and we need this to grow here now. So like and I think people try to take life, nature, like that's really what science is. It's trying to understand the world around us, right? But I think the approach that's been taken for so long, it's like it wanted to just be so anti religion, maybe. Like it tried to be the opposite of religion. And instead, like it just kind of got too cut and dry. And so you kind of need a little bit of that weird, that random, the fact that we are all humans and we are all interacting with the world around us, and to say that we don't have some kind of influence on the world around us would be kind of ridiculous to say, so. But none of us here are quantum scientists of any regard. But
bro, I failed
I would
every science class in high school.
What I would want to say is, in response to all of that, part of the problem that we have as a society is our collective wound in perception and belief of the divine that is a direct trauma response to all of the control of the Catholic and Christian churches throughout the ages, and the stranglehold that Christianity has had on just culture in general. It's created an environment where people are reflexatorily against it, even if it actually still has a lot of merit and use, right? So they will knee-jerk reaction away things like local consciousness phenomenon, because they don't want to think about it in that way, because they've fully bought the cow on like the chemical, mineral, animal, vegetable world, and they don't think that there's anything beyond that, right? Even though the closer you observe particles, the more clear it is that shit's way more fucked than we think it is.
And in Braiding Sweetgrass, she really touches on that too, because she is a botanist, and she's a professor, and she's also like a native woman, so it's all at the same time. So she has all of these different perspectives that she's like bringing together into one cohesive thought. What I thought was so interesting is when she was talking about the story of one of her graduate students with the sweetgrass, which was they actually found out that if you don't pick it, if you don't harvest it, it dies out. It needs to be picked. It needs to be harvested in order for it to grow more. A lot like reminds me of
for
green
the
beans.
rhizomes to stimulate in the root system.
Yeah, and it reminds me of green beans. Like if you grow a green bean plant, but if you don't pick the green beans, then it's not going to produce more. It's just going to kind of produce what it does and wither. And I was thinking of that and how when the student had proposed the topic of her thesis, she was like, hey, this is my topic. This is what I'm proposing, and they laughed at her. They were like, well, everyone knows that harvesting a thing, harvesting a plant results in its depletion from the area, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, well, let's test that because that's why we're here and that's why we do fucking science. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we're doing this shit. And, and it also, so like, not only was it a full on 100%, qualified scientific experiment, but it was also a look into those local land spirits, to that plant spirit, you know what I mean, to how the relationship between that plant has to interact with the humans and the animals that are interacting with it. So it was really nice to see that she was able to blend that together, and I think we need more of that in science. And I think a lot of this sort of these quantum discussions are going to allow more room for that, because it is all about, one, probability, and two, what was observed, in all of the probable circumstances. So, and then also observations between different people, like what you may have observed was different from what I observed, and then we have to talk about that, So really, I guess it's kind of been a theme for me, like sort of in the stuff I've been reading. It's been a little bit more of like blending spirituality and science together.
Yeah, because you can't separate the two away from each other. And like Dawn was pointing out, what we consider like science right now a long time ago was actually occult studies, which is something that her and I were talking about the other day. Mathematics used to be illegal, and it had to be studied in occult circles. So is geometry, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just science, right? Alchemy was illegal, and now it's chemistry, right? When I try to talk to modern people about modern occult studies, they always seem to just say, yeah, but it's all science. We just didn't understand it. Now we do. And now it's all like there. Honey, you're missing the fucking point. Yeah. The occult is the study of whatever the fuck mainstream society is unwilling to examine. That's it. And that still involves the ancient mystery schools, which like also the arrogance of Western society to take all of these philosophers from Greece who were studied in like the ancient fucking tradition or mystery traditions, okay? Like Plato initiated into the Orphic mysteries, and then divest these people from their actual like magical origin and like mystical knowledges, and then to use Plato's name for like Platonic material sciences, it's like, get the fuck out of town, y'all.
It's like, let me take
it's very clearly sterilized.
Yeah, it's like, let me take the ancient teachings of your culture and then use them against you and educate you about your own culture and your own history and your own beliefs.
It's literally like Vatican canon law, but for Greek philosophy, right? So, like, that's a whole fucking thing I think most people should really understand, is that a lot of these philosophers that you think are, like, just mathematicians, like Pythagoras, like, these were deeply occult motherfuckers, okay? Right? Like, y'all are missing a huge chunk of that because you've sanitized it, right? It's like that Irish guy that Scott was talking about who was very against like the mystical aspects of the culture because he thought it made them look like barbaric and like uncivilized, right?
Yeah.
We do this all the time where we self-select and we keep all of the mystical and like Gnostic teachings veiled away and then act like they weren't there to begin with. But then when you start examining behind the veil, shit's way more esoteric than it's ever been, and it's always been esoteric, right? So in modern times, what are we studying through the occult spheres, right? We're studying egregores a lot, which is like thought forms and how they exist in the human brain. They're almost like mental parasites at times, or like mental viruses, and how they get passed on and how they live between each other a lot. How you can intentionally create them, how they can work through synchronicity in the world. Another thing that we've really started doing in modern occult times is fucking with synchronicity in really unique ways to like see what it does, how it can manifest, what the extent of its capabilities is, and then like actually using it to like communicate with divinity, communicate with like non-human intelligences or whatever you're in contact with, right? There's a lot of intersection with occult studies and paranormal stuff, like with cryptids and monsters I refuse to name because they're bad juju, and if I meet them in person, you best bet I'm going to try and kill y'all monsters because you're literal fucking cryptid monsters that feed on people and you don't deserve to be on this planet. Like, dead ass. Fucking put a shotgun in their face and pull the trigger.
Shotgun.
I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna have a magically enchanted 50-pound draw recurve bow because I'm getting back into archery. Yeah, that's another thing I did. I was at an archery thing / axe throwing thing the other night. I haven't done archery in over 10 years. You want to know how good I was picking it up just because of how much my magic practice and everything else has advanced? I was able to hit a 2-centimeter moving target at a slow moving speed. Fucking 2 centimeters, like actually closer to about 1.5 centimeters, like a little thing like this big.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm back, baby. I'm fucking shooting arrows. I'm throwing axes and knives and shit.
Well, that's good. I mean, you've been on the Apocalypse Squad for a while. You've been on the survival team, so
I've been on fucking Super Apocalypse Squad for a while. Now I'm on like solo Rambo with a bow and arrow. Like I can do the Japanese Yumi drawdown technique where you start high and you have to pull back like this because of the strength of the bow. I can just do straight across and like nook it straight there. I know to like nook my thumb to my cheekbone so that it keeps the arrow aligned with my eye, and then I let it fly from there. And it's like people are like, "How are you so fucking good at that?" And like, do you shoot regularly? And my response was just so tongue in cheek, just nope. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I haven't shot in 10 years. And they're like, or over 10 years. And they're like,
sometimes with stuff like that, it's like you can overthink it, you know, like especially when
it's very zen in the art.
Yeah, you have to like just kind of you have to detach, kind of.
If you haven't done archery before, it's actually very occult. You have to learn how to focus on breathing. You have to kind of like look at a target but past it without hyper focusing on it. Like it's at first when you're learning it, you're always looking at like degree of where the arrow sits to where, but then at the end of the day you realize like your finger let go can throw the arrow more than anything else, and you need to truly like relax and kind of focus on a lot of things at the same time, which you do by letting go. There's a really phenomenal book on this that's very ancient, and it's called Zen in the Art of Archery. I highly recommend anybody look at this book. It's very much about flow states and being one with your practice. I'm telling you, that the moment I was like, wait a minute, Zen in the art, I went, and it just was like I let go on the breathe, and it was like bam, I nailed that little ball. It was like that big, and people were like, oh fuck, and I'm like, so like, yeah, man, I'm getting back in archery too. And recurve bows aren't even that expensive. You know how much a recurve costs in Canadian? $150 ish.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's around this. It's around the same for like a set, like a starter.
If you can pull it, well, I'm not getting a starter. I'm getting a fucking 50-pound draw, which is enough to kill a bear. By the way.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to. I don't know if I'd be able to do that right out the gate. Seems like a lot.
I 100% can pull a 50-pound. I can pull, I think, up to a 75. It's a bit different. Like it's not pulling up like this. You're pulling with your shoulder blades to split. A lot of the strength comes from back here and up here. But as you can see, I'm actually like jacked up there. So I have actually very good form for shooting bow, which is why I'm better shooting bow now than I was before, simply because I'm so strong that I can hold perfect form and relax very calmly and just let it fly, right?
Yeah.
Fun fact, video games get it wrong. You don't actually use strength for sword fighting. You use agility for sword fighting, and you use strength for archery. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you have to hold something in tension, right?
Right, that requires
your
more
arms
strength.
slightly crooked.
Versus swinging a sword.
And you have to keep your arms slightly crooked. swinging a sword's actually almost all in the wrist. Like when I flick my one-handed sword, it's like from here to that, and you're using a lot of the weight of the weapon itself to rotate it. And if you're using it two hands, it's a lot of push and pull, unless you suck, in which case you're just going to die anyways. So yeah, sword fighting is largely dexterity and agility, whereas archery is reflexes for sure, based on like instinct and knowing where to position, but it's huge amounts of strength, right? Because either you have a bow so strong that it's meant to be drawn and let go right at its peak of its strength, and you like literally just let the bowstring pull through your fingers when it does, or you're going to have to hold it and lock it and then aim your shot, which is far less ideal, but a lot of people hold and lock anyways, so because typically you want to aim for a shot if you're newer, right? Very few people will fire it as soon as they've drawn it. That's like a very professional technique.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I know all of this, it's like, damn, girl, you know some bows, right? It's like, I'm getting back in archery, and I might do some. I might actually try and enter some tournaments if my aim's good enough, and see what distance they shoot at. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can come in with a 50-pound bow and smoke these bitches, shooting with like their 25s or 40s.
So we've been going on for an hour. As I was saying earlier, this might be a shorter stream. Might be a little bit of a shorter stream because of Scott. Hold on, my camera. Oh, the camera. Okay, there we go.
I will actually show y'all a pride treat. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say if we if there were any kind of concluding thoughts for today, but we're about to see something for Pride, a Pride treat. Should I be scared?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So this, I don't know how well you can see it. This is my training sword that I use. It's a synthetic katana.
Cool.
I'm trying to see how well this stands on the camera, but like this thing, as you can see, most of the control comes from like just up top, and I can control it just like that. So yeah, that's one of my training swords. And in this, I got a fancy perfume, and I like it.
And that right here, the two genders. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because I'm both. I'm both. I'm sword and perfume.
Yes. I love it.
Okay, that looked pretty good on the stream, actually. I had the right positioning, checking how the camera worked. So cool. Yeah, that's all I wanted to show y'all. Happy Pride. Get your weapons training in. Don't take no shit from nobody. Put a counterweight on your sword if it's improperly balanced. That's what I have to say.
Alrighty. So with that, I think we're gonna head out of here for today. Shout out again to Dawn and Kai and Rat. I did see Rat. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Real quick.
Sorry, this is a little less of a focused episode.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place. I had debated whether or not we should record because I knew Scott wouldn't be here.
But I wanted to. Yeah,
and I did too. And you know, it's good to get one in when we can. But yeah, I also want to focus more on occulty, magical, esoteric topics. I just think lately life and the goings on of the world around us have kind of taken focus, but I think we're getting into a point where we're seeing, like, I don't know, not that we're in a holding pattern, but we're understanding how to navigate these next years of our lives. You know, we're coming up with a plan of how to navigate and still move forward with your life. Like, it's not like I had this idea that, like, oh, we're just supposed to be stagnant for 4 years and just hold down the fort and, you know, just wait till this all blows over. And that's not really how things are going to go. It's going to be a constant, you know, uphill battle. But I do want to focus
Y'all,
more.
He's going to either be impeached or there's going to be open conflict before the end of the 4 years. Sorry, this is the dying breath of America.
Yeah. However it goes, it will go. But we're committed to see it through. And I think that's what matters. If you want to support us financially, or if you know anyone that would want to support us financially, you can do that on Ko-fi. I always get the two mixed up in my head. It's on Ko-fi because Patreon charges more, so fuck Patreon. We have a Ko-fi page. We have 3 tiers. The coolest one is the Hail Satan tier. That's $6.66 a month. You can send us your hail, whatever you want to hail. It's a shout out. It could be a shop. It could be for yourself. Whatever the case is. We do have a subscriber to that tier, and that is Tink. And Tink wants us to always remember Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Feed Palestine, because they need it.
Yes.
That too. Feed Palestine because they're getting fucking genocided through hunger right now and fucking Israeli blockades.
Yeah. So if you know of any legitimate links to, because there's a ton of scam fundraiser things out there. So if you know any legitimate things like links or anything, share them in the Discord, and we can try and get some kind of like donation together. But with that, I think we're gonna head out of here for today. And we will see you all in the next one.